The royal journey lurched violently to starboard, the deafening screech of bending metal drowning out passenger screams. From the upper deck, Jack Morrison watched as seawater poured into the lower cabins. His Navy SEAL instincts instantly awakened, mind already calculating entry points and survival times. What happened? A woman cried out beside him as the luxury liner continued its sickening tilt. "We've hit something," Jack replied, his trained eyes spotting the exposed reef through the crystal Caribbean waters. The massive cruise ship, home to over 2,000 passengers and crew for the past week, was now rapidly becoming a potential tomb. Emergency alarms blared across all decks as the Royal Journey's crew mobilized with practiced urgency. Passengers in bright orange life vests flooded toward lifeboats, panic visible on many faces. The ship's PA system crackled with the captain's voice, tight with controlled stress. All passengers proceed to muster stations. This is not a drill. Jack helped steady an elderly couple as the deck angle increased. His vacation, his first since leaving the service 3 years ago, was officially over. "Sir, we need assistance." A crew member approached, recognizing Jack's calm amid chaos. The captain requests anyone with emergency experience. At the bridge, Captain Reynolds was coordinating evacuation while receiving dire reports. Most passengers are evacuating, but we've lost contact with D-Deck. Engineering reports a family and 3 crew members trapped as water fills those compartments. Nearest rescue divers are hours away, the first officer added grimly. The captain looked at Jack, who had just introduced himself as a former SEAL. "We can't wait for them," Jack said, already calculating depths and pressures. "I'm going in." "Show me the ship schematics," Jack demanded, his voice calm but authoritative. The chief engineer spread blueprints across the navigation console, hands trembling slightly. "The deck is here," the engineer pointed. "These compartments are already underwater, and based on our sensors, water's entering through a hull breach approximately 15 feet wide." Jack studied the layout, mentally mapping entry points and potential air pockets. His SEAL training automatically classified information into tactical relevance. "These cabin clusters might still have air trapped at the ceiling," he noted, pointing to a section. "How long has communication been out?" 20 minutes, Captain Reynolds replied. "Last distress call mentioned rising water and diminishing space." "What about structural integrity?" Jack asked. "Compromised and deteriorating," the engineer answered grimly. "We got maybe 3 hours before complete submersion, less for those lower decks." Jack calculated oxygen depletion rates, another skill from his military days. If they're in an air pocket, they might have 90 minutes of breathable air, depending on how many people and the pocket size. The ship groaned ominously, tilting another few degrees. Alarms from a different section blared. "Fire in the engine room," someone shouted over the radio. "Electrical systems are shorting out," the first officer explained. "We're losing power to emergency pumps." "Sir," a communications officer burst in. "We've re-established weak contact with D-Deck. It's a family of 4 and 3 crew members. They're trapped in the restaurant section, water up to their chests. One child has asthma and is struggling to breathe." Jack's jaw tightened. The asthma complicated everything. Reduced airspace meant accelerated oxygen depletion for someone with compromised lungs. Outside, the weather was deteriorating. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, promising choppy seas within the hour. "What diving equipment do we have?" Jack asked. The safety officer returned with the ship's emergency gear, 2 standard sets of scuba equipment and rescue masks. Jack examined them critically. These are rated for recreational diving, not search and rescue in enclosed spaces, he noted. The regulators aren't designed for extended underwater navigation in zero visibility. They tried lowering equipment through external access points, but twisted metal had sealed most entry routes. The standard evacuation procedures were failing. Jack stood at the railing, watching rescue boats circling, unable to help those trapped inside. His mind raced through options, weighing risks against time. Training scenarios from his SEAL days flashed through his consciousness. Night dives in surging currents, extraction missions in flooded structures. He closed his eyes briefly, controlling his breathing the way his SEAL instructors had drilled into him thousands of times. His heart rate slowed deliberately. In his mind, the chaotic ship transformed into a mission objective with clear parameters. "I need inventory," Jack announced. "Every oxygen tank, every flashlight, every tool that might cut metal." As the crew scrambled to comply, Jack removed a waterproof bag from his backpack, revealing specialized equipment he always traveled with, habits from a former life that never left him. "I'll need these ship plans, a grease pencil, and that radio," he said. "And someone find me duct tape. Lots of it." Jack's mind flashed back to the pitch-black waters of the SEAL training facility in Coronado. His instructor's voice echoed. "When visibility drops to zero, your sense of touch becomes your eyes. Count your strokes. Memorize your turns." The difference between disorientation and mission success is maintaining spatial awareness when your senses lie to you. He'd spent hundreds of hours navigating flooded ship mock-ups, learning to work in spaces where panic meant death. Now, that training would be the difference between life and death for 7 trapped souls. "I'll enter through the crew's service shaft here," Jack explained, pointing to the schematics. "It connects to all decks and should provide the most direct route to their location." "That's insane," the first officer protested. "Those passages are narrow even when the ship is upright. With the tilt, you'll be swimming through a maze in complete darkness." "Which is exactly what I was trained for," Jack replied calmly. "Standard approaches won't work here." He modified the recreational diving gear with techniques learned from his special operations days. Using duct tape and parts from his personal equipment, he created a redundant air supply system. He fashioned a guideline from paracord he always carried, another military habit, and prepared improvised markers from glow sticks. "I'll navigate by compartment numbers. They're embossed on each bulkhead. I can feel them even in zero visibility. It's the same principle we use for structure clearance operations." Jack converted the complex ship layout into a simple grid system, marking primary and alternate routes with military-style objective points. He assigned letters to key junctions, the same tactical mapping system used in urban combat missions. "I need 3 volunteers with any diving experience," Jack announced to the gathered crew. Several stepped forward. He quickly assessed them, picking those with the steadiest hands and calmest demeanors. Jack showed the modified Navy hand signals for underwater communication. "These are simplified from what we use in the teams," he explained. 3 squeezes on a rope means emergency. Continuous pulls means come back immediately. He taught them combat breathing techniques to extend their air supply. 4-count breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. It's how we preserved air in SEAL operations. The ship's doctor approached with medical supplies. Jack organized them into waterproof packages, prioritizing emergency asthma medication and hypothermia treatment. "Set up a triage area here," Jack instructed the medical team. "When we bring them up, they'll be cold, possibly with breathing difficulties." He assembled his makeshift team with military precision, assigning roles with clear objectives. A communications officer would maintain radio contact as long as possible. 2 crew members would manage his guidelines from above. A medical assistant would prepare emergency oxygen. "This isn't different from a combat extraction," Jack explained. "Clear communication, defined responsibilities, contingency plans. Everyone needs to know their role and the backup plan." He conducted a final gear check with the thoroughness drilled into him through countless missions. Each piece of equipment, each connection point, each backup system verified twice. 2-way checks, he instructed his assistants, showing them how to verify each other's gear the way military dive partners did. As he prepared to enter the water, Jack methodically visualized the route, committing key turns and distances to memory, a mental mapping technique taught in special operations. "I'll establish contact, assess the situation, and determine the extraction method," he explained. "If I don't radio back within 20 minutes of reaching the target location, implement contingency plan Alpha." With a final adjustment to his improvised dive mask, Jack slipped into the dark water, disappearing into the submerged service entrance. His movements were measured and precise, the unhurried efficiency of someone converting years of specialized training into life-saving action. Jack navigated the flooded corridors by touch, his fingers tracing the embossed compartment numbers on bulkheads. The ship's severe tilt had transformed horizontal passages into disorienting vertical shafts. Furniture and debris floated dangerously in the murky water, threatening to entangle him. After 15 minutes of methodical progress, he reached D-Deck's restaurant section. His flashlight revealed a horrifying scene. 7 people clustered in a shrinking air pocket near the ceiling, water rising steadily around them. A young girl, perhaps 8 years old, was being held up by her father. Her breathing labored as she clutched an inhaler. Jack surfaced in their air pocket. "Navy SEAL," he announced calmly. "I'm here to get you out." The looks of desperate hope on their faces shifted something in his chest. His tactical assessment was grim. The main exit was completely blocked by collapsed ceiling panels and kitchen equipment. The secondary exit he'd planned to use was now underwater, with twisted metal making it impassable. "We need to create a new exit route," Jack explained, unclipping a specialized multi-tool from his belt, standard equipment for SEAL underwater operations. "I'm going to cut through that service panel." Working in a confined space with water now reaching their shoulders, Jack began cutting through the metal with practiced precision. His muscles burned with effort, but his movements remained controlled and efficient. "How's she doing?" Jack asked the father of the asthmatic girl, whose lips were taking on a bluish tinge. "Not good. The inhaler's empty," the man replied, fear evident in his voice. Jack made a critical decision. He removed his emergency backup regulator and improvised a breathing apparatus for the child. "This will help her breathe," he said, showing the father how to hold it. "It's got about 20 minutes of air." The air pocket continued shrinking. Jack worked faster, his training allowing him to push through physical exhaustion. Finally, the metal panel gave way, revealing a narrow passage that could serve as an escape route. "One at a time," Jack instructed. "I'll guide each of you through." He led the first crew member through the passage, demonstrating the route before returning for the others. On his third trip back, part of the ceiling collapsed, partially blocking their new escape route. Without hesitation, Jack used his body to brace the falling debris, sustaining a deep gash across his shoulder. Blood clouded the water, but he ignored the pain, focusing entirely on the mission. "Route's still viable," he reported, his voice tight but controlled. "We need to move faster." The mother went next, then the first child. The father and his asthmatic daughter would be last, as she needed the oxygen supply Jack had provided. Jack's own air supply dwindled dangerously as he made repeated trips. His training kicked in. Controlled breathing, economical movements, precise navigation even as exhaustion clouded his thinking. On the final extraction, the girl's father became wedged in the narrow passage. With oxygen nearly depleted, Jack employed specialized extraction techniques from his SEAL training, using leverage points and specific pressure applications to free the man without causing further injury. "Almost there," Jack encouraged them, his own vision beginning to grade the edges from oxygen deprivation. He'd given his backup supply to the child and was now operating on the absolute limits of his endurance. When they finally emerged into an area where a rescue crew could reach them, the girl looked at Jack with wide eyes. "You're like Aquaman," she whispered through the improvised breathing device. Jack's exhausted face broke into a smile. "Better. I'm a SEAL." Rescue personnel swarmed around them as Jack and the final survivors emerged onto the tilting deck. Medical teams immediately wrapped thermal blankets around the shivering family and began treating the asthmatic girl with proper oxygen. Jack collapsed against a bulkhead, completely spent. A medic attempted to examine the deep gash on his shoulder, but Jack waved him toward the others. "Check them first," he insisted, his voice hoarse from exertion. Captain Reynolds pushed through crowd, grasping Jack's hand firmly. 7 lives. You saved 7 lives when no one else could have." News of the miraculous rescue spread quickly among the evacuated passengers gathered on rescue vessels surrounding the slowly sinking cruise ship. Smartphone cameras captured the moment as the rescued family embraced Jack, the young girl refusing to leave his side. When reporters later asked about his heroic actions, Jack shrugged uncomfortably. "I just applied my training," he said simply. Any SEAL would have done the same. The ship's crew deserves credit too. They provided crucial support. He deflected questions about his injury and the obvious risks he had taken. The focus should be on how well everyone worked together, not on any individual. The story exploded across social media and news networks. Former Navy SEAL dives into sinking cruise ship, saves family and crew. Video interviews with the rescued passengers described Jack's extraordinary calm and competence in what should have been an impossible situation. The father of the rescued family, his voice breaking with emotion, told reporters, "He gave my daughter his own oxygen. Who does that? He didn't even know us." When asked about this, Jack's response embodied the ethos of his military background. "We never leave anyone behind. That doesn't change when you take off the uniform." In the days that followed, the U.S. Coast Guard formally recognized Jack's actions with civilian commendation. More significantly to Jack, several former SEALs reached out, the simple messages of "Huya," meaning more than any public accolade. The cruise line announced a comprehensive review of their emergency procedures, with plans to incorporate military-developed rescue techniques into their training programs. They invited Jack to consult on the new protocols. The young girl he saved sent Jack a hand-drawn picture of him in diving gear with the words "My hero" scrawled across the top. Her parents mentioned that she now wanted to join the Navy when she grew up. As the media attention gradually faded, Jack reflected on how his military training, designed for combat operations, had found perhaps its most meaningful application in saving lives during peacetime. "The most valuable thing the military teaches isn't how to fight," he told a fellow veteran over coffee weeks later. "It's how to keep thinking clearly when everything around you is chaos. It's about serving something greater than yourself." This story reminds us that military training creates individuals who carry their skills and values with them long after they've hung up their uniforms. In our communities today, veterans like Jack continue to serve in ways both seen and unseen, bringing their unique abilities to bear when crisis strikes. Have you ever witnessed someone using specialized training to help others in an emergency? Or perhaps you know a veteran whose military experience has made a difference in civilian life. Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story of courage and service moved you, please consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with someone who might appreciate a reminder of the everyday heroes walking among us. Subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories of real-life